Hello everyone, first news update for 1st of May 2025. Now it's about 2 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to, and I hope you will find this episode informative and useful, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary. No matter on which platform you are watching this episode, on YouTube or on Rumble, and if you can, please switch to Rumble from YouTube and watch episode there. That might help to further develop this project. Link is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And also when it comes to Rumble, dear friends, as you know, from Monday to Friday, if there is no technical issues or other some reasons that makes it impossible to do, usually I have live streams or evening news program, and I will have a evening news program today also at 7 o'clock Moscow time, so please keep that in mind. Let's go through some other news now. And RIA Novosti is reporting that Ukrainian armed forces targeted their marketplace in the Kherson region, killing civilians. This happened in Oleshki settlement. According to reports, Kiev regime launched one wave of drone attacks on this civilian place, absolutely, and then after some time to maximize casualty numbers among civilians, they launched second drone strike, and as a result, 7 civilians were killed and dozens of civilians were wounded. Yet another war crime committed by this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. I wonder if any media outlet, so-called media outlet in the West, will even mention this yet another terrorist attack of Kiev. I don't think so. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian troops liberated the village of Novye, which is located on the northern-western flank of Seversk. And so this is the settlement, by the way, settlement Novye. Well, as I said, they're on the northern-western side of Seversk direction, and the progress of the Russian troops continues, by the way, even though there is a lot of talks about ending hostilities, ceasefire, and so on. Operations still are underway, and the Russian troops are improving their positions on daily basis, and literally every single day we are receiving reports about liberation of more and more settlements. RIA Novosti is reporting, meanwhile, that US and Ukraine have signed their natural resources deal. Finally, they did it. So the United States and Ukraine have signed their agreement on natural resources. So the US Treasury Department website reports on April 30, United States and Ukraine signed an agreement establishing the US-Ukraine Investment and Reconstruction Fund in recognition of significant financial and material support that the people of the United States have provided to Ukraine's defense, the statement has said. And we all understand that by this move, US is trying to basically extract whatever wealth they can steal from people that are living in Ukraine. That's all it is, by the way. They want to steal whatever can be stolen from Kiev-controlled territory. That's all it is, really. And Trump is not really even tries to hide that it's all about money that they want to extract from this former Soviet Republic. Our team, meanwhile, is reporting that Ukraine, according to Trump's envoy, Kat Kellogg, Ukraine is willing to de facto give up land to Russia. I mean, every single day we are receiving this report that are kind of contradicting each other. Usually, these statements are coming from the West, from US or Europe, or sometimes Kiev regime, and therefore it is difficult to have a proper understanding of the situation, really. But anyways, let's pay attention to all these statements. Some of them eventually may become true, although it is difficult to take seriously nowadays anything that comes from the West. So Kiev has agreed to acknowledge Russia's control over the Crimea and 4 other regions without formally recognizing Moscow's sovereignty over them, according to US President Donald Trump's special envoy Kat Kellogg. Okay, Kiev regime, officials in the Kiev regime are saying otherwise, that they will never acknowledge nothing, and they are all about prolongation of this conflict, and they have backing from globalists and globalist control regimes in Europe, first of all UK, France, Germany, and some smaller economies or smaller countries are there. But well, seems like U.S. leadership, U.S. political class is a little bit more optimistic on this regard. Although they are hawks, they are warmongers and psychos in U.S. Leadership, also in U.S. political class, plenty of them actually, and this pack of rabid animals are led like by people like Lindsey Graham, this total psychopath and Russophobe and human hater, basically, who is threatening Russia with some bone-crushing sanctions. Not the first time this rabid animal is making some strong statements against Russia. So U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, and shame on U.S., by the way, that these kind of elements are senators there. As long as this is true, U.S. is doomed, by the way. U.S. cannot have a future as long as this country has people like Lindsey Graham as its leaders, right? Anyways, let's go through this news. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham has claimed a broad Senate support for a bill that would enact bone-crushing new sanctions on Russia and impose steep tariffs on the countries purchasing its key exports. Graham told reporters on Wednesday that his goal is to support President Trump in negotiations with Russia over the potential Ukraine settlement. Okay, just try it. Just do it, you know. Do it. We don't give a damn here in Russia about US sanctions, never did, really. And things may go down in a way that Moscow at one point, in relatively near future, Moscow just said, you know what, we had enough, we tried to have a decent conversation with you, US leadership, but you are not negotiable. You cannot be trusted, so therefore we are out of this freaking game. That's what Moscow might do in very short time, because just look at this, man. How are you going to negotiate with the side that is threatening you and threatens your strategical partners? I mean, what the hell, right? So Lindsey Graham is clearly sabotaging, I will say, attempts of the Trump administration to de-escalate. If they are honest in this approach, which can be also questioned, right? Honesty of Trump's team. But anyways, Lindsey Graham is saying that some 500% tariffs can be imposed on countries that are key buyers of Russian exports, key strategical partners. And you know what these three countries are? You know what top three countries are when it comes to economical ties with Russia, economical partnership? With the exception of Belarus, let's say. Russia and Belarus, whole different story. But when it comes to other countries, it's China, India, Turkey, by the way, for example, that wants to become a sort of energy hub for a region and for Europe. And this might only happen with cooperation with Russia, we will understand that. And Ankara is very keen to further enhance cooperation. And so Lindsey Graham is threatening whom? China, India, Turkey, and there are other major regional powerhouses in different parts of this world. And you think this is going to go down well with Russia or with these countries or for US, by the way? Of course not. Of course not. US will impose some tariffs, 500% tariffs on China, by the way. US economy can experience potentially worst day ever, especially on exchange markets, right? On what do you call this, man? Nasdaq, S&P 500, and that kind of garbage. Anyways, enough talk about this freaking idiot, man. Let them try. I think that's what Moscow gonna say on that. Just do it. Too much talk about it. We already imposed some 30,000 sanctions on us. Bring some more. Another 10 or 20,000. I mean, okay. Let give us reasons to laugh some more. Anyways, RIA Novosti is reporting that West is preparing to lift anti-Russian sanctions. I mean, what the hell? Lindsey Graham is threatening with more sanctions. Financial Times is reporting that West is preparing to lift anti-Russian sanctions. What is going on in the West, by the way? I mean, how long this chaotic situation gonna last? Don't know, but Western companies are preparing to return to Russian market if sanctions are lifted, according to Financial Times. Commodity companies, insurance, and Western shipping groups are seeking legal advice on how to resume trade with Russia in preparations for the possible lifting of the US sanctions. Okay, good news, one may argue, but yet again, is US is going to lift any sanctions on Russia anytime soon? I don't think so. So these companies, they are just wasting time, really. They're not gonna, if they want to come back to Russian market, probably Russia will be open for that, but they're not gonna receive such a permission from their own leadership, right, in US or otherwise, in collective West. Vzglyad newspaper, meanwhile, is reporting that according to article in Times, Stammer's Ukraine Peacekeeper plan is failing or already failed. London's plan to create a European coalition to send peacekeepers, so-called peacekeepers, to Ukraine have run into reluctance of its allies to support their initiative, the Times writes. The initiative proposed by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has effectively failed. RIA Novosti reports, according to the Times, on the other hand, NATO's European parties have been identified indifferent, and the original idea was doomed to failure due to US refusal to make significant efforts. The article notes that in recent years, European armies have suffered from insufficient funding. Thus, according to the author of the article, this reality does not allow London and Paris to maintain large military contingents abroad for long enough. It will be difficult for Great Britain itself, as well as France, the main military powers on the continent, to deploy more than one brigade of about 6,000 soldiers in Ukraine for a long period. Their publication quotes the author's opinion, and well, this is laughable, isn't it? If UK and France are not even capable to deploy brigade or more than brigade for a long time anywhere, right? That's quite telling stuff, isn't it? About state of armed forces of these countries. Although, by the way, no matter what kind of contingent, eventually UK and France, maybe some other smaller countries, gonna deploy into Kiev control territory, those units gonna be quite effectively neutralized in very short time, because at least until now, Moscow's position was very clear that any deployment of NATO troops into Ukraine will be considered as a direct involvement of these countries into this proxy war against Russia, and their appropriate actions will be taken to neutralize those units and threats that these countries are creating. Russian side was very clear on that. So therefore, I don't know if London and Paris really dare to risk it all and send their troops on a brigade level or two brigades or on battalion scale. We will see. Eventually, once Ukraine will undergo full-scale disintegration, which is absolutely inevitable in my opinion, western parts of Ukraine will end up under control of NATO. So therefore, NATO troops will be there in the western Ukraine, but the rest of their territory of this former Soviet Republic is no-go zone for NATO forever. And NATO countries already lost significant number of their specialists, special forces or otherwise, on Kiev control territory that were deployed there to assist Kiev regime. And as I said, more troops they will send openly or undercover, more losses they're gonna have. That's all it is. Obviously, they cannot turn the tide of this conflict. The Western ruling class started this proxy war against Russia, and Russia won it. Russia will finish this war on its own terms. It is what it is, man, like it or not, but that's how it's gonna be, and that's how things are moving towards. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that India responds to unprovoked firing by Pakistan, according to media reports. Indian army continues to retaliate to Pakistani troops who have engaged in unprovoked firing across the line of control in Kashmir for the seventh straight day. Ani news agency has reported, and well, unfortunately, situation in between two countries is escalating on daily basis, and this exchange of fire, for now, with the relatively small arms, is daily occurrence, but obviously risk is there that soon both sides may start deploying large guns, let's say, and the situation might escalate big time, which is extremely dangerous for both countries and for entire world, because India and Pakistan are nuclear states. Many countries worldwide express their readiness to mediate between the two to help de-escalate situation, and hopefully these calls to New Delhi and Islamabad will result in de-escalation, because it's not in interest of any of these countries, India or Pakistan, to get involved in a wider war, and it's not in interest of any normal human war to full-scale war or all-out war to begun between these nuclear powerhouses. But unfortunately, for now, seems like the escalation is not there yet. Sides are still escalating, and there are shellings of each other's positions with all sorts of weapons, although scale is small yet, but still it is extremely dangerous. And also there is more and more escalatory statements from both capitals there, which is unfortunate. Meanwhile, RT is reporting, and I will end this update on this news, dear friends, that Russia forecasts a major increase in the budget deficit. So the Russia's budget deficit is set to soar to more than 3 times the government's original target for 2025, according to Finance Ministry. And of course, it does sounds like, wow, huge, isn't it? I mean, budget deficit to soar more than 3 times, but just give me a sec and you will see that it's not that big of a deal, really, because of objective reasons. The revised outlook comes aimed failing global oil prices and their escalating trade tensions worldwide. Last month, Finance Minister Anton Siluanov warned of potential budgetary stress due to declining oil revenues and the global economic instability, saying to ongoing trade wars, which are reducing export opportunities for many countries, including Russia, remain a major risk. This year, the overall fiscal deficit is forecasted at 1.7% of GDP, by the way. 1.7% of GDP, not a big deal, compared to previously projected 0.5%, according to a statement released by the Ministry on Wednesday. In monetary terms, the budget shortfall is expected to total 3.8 trillion rubles or 46.3 billion US dollars. And as I said, by the way, 46 or 50 billion dollar is not a big deal for Russian Federation. After all, we all know that reserves that Russia has are about 800 billion, right? About 800 million in different funds, right? And also, Russia has quite tools in its hands to actually decrease this number of 3.8 trillion rubles of deficit, and all central bank has to do, or economical bloc of the Russian Federation, is to weaken Russian ruble for 20 cents, 30 rubles, and that will actually benefit Russian exporter companies, right, that are playing huge role on the world markets, and also that will, if ruble will weaken for 20 or 30 rubles. That will, of course, give a government opportunity to have more rubles in a budget. That will clearly decrease this overall deficit. So tools are there. Russia has a great volume of reserves. So therefore, even though it sounds like a big stuff that, Russian budget deficit gonna increase 3 times, but in reality, Moscow definitely is in a position to deal with this situation relatively easily, by the way, and society would not even notice anything at all, right? And even in case if central bank and financial bloc will go ahead with their, decreasing rubles exchange rate compared to dollar, it is now on 80 rubles, right? Exchange rate is 80 to $1, 80 rubles to $1, and the Russian central bank can easily decrease this exchange rate up to 110 rubles for $1. And it will not really create much inflation, because when a couple of months ago, when the ruble actually was at 110, prices, all the businesses did lift up prices, right? And when ruble started strengthening big time, and as I said, now it's 80, about 80 rubles for a dollar, prices didn't drop. Prices didn't drop that much, right? So therefore, I don't think if Russian government will, with different tools, will make it happen that ruble will weaken once again up to 100, 110 to a dollar, which will benefit, as I said, which will benefit federal budget, because they will receive more rubles, and which will benefit also exporter businesses. I don't think that will increase inflation that much, or anyhow at all, right? Let's see. I expect, by the way, anyways, mark my word, I expect probably Russian central bank and economical bloc go in that direction. And in 2-3 months time, probably exchange rate will be 110, around 110, maybe 120 rubles for a dollar. We will see. Anyways, dear friends, I'm gonna end this update on that. Short update, but her days, as I said, are quite slow news-wise. Hopefully you will find this episode informative and useful. And before I go, let me notice, dear friends, that this media project is subscriber funded and exists only as long as you support it. So if you like what you see, if you like my channels, my programs, my work, please consider to support her with donations through PayPal or Boosty platforms, or by subscribing to my Patreon page or Boosty page. And you can also become a premium subscriber to my Rumble channel, and that will help also, obviously. And before I go, yes, at 7 o'clock today, I will have a live stream on Rumble, evening news, and I will share latest news during that stream for today. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care.